Hi, so this one's a little different. I'm going to call it science related. And actually, it's related to a subject I am very interested in, so maybe I should make more videos like this. Um, it's about conservation and particularly thinking of the great apes, in this case, gorillas. Over the last few weeks, I've been watching the Planet of the Apes series, right from the Charlton Heston original in 1968. I'm currently on Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, I've seen them all before, but I'm just kind of going through them. And obviously, it's science fiction, but I've been interested in them now for about a decade. Funny thing is, when I was younger, like a kid, I really wasn't interested in chimpanzees, monkeys, etc. That wasn't my favorite type of animal. Probably I like big cats. I like panthers. I remember having a stuffed panther, toy panther that I was very close to. But in recent years, I've definitely got more interested in the whole um, primate subject. I'm interested in evolution, and not to make any sort of statement on that, but I don't know. It just interests me. Got a copy of National Geographic in front of me. This is from 2015, and it's looking at the Homo naledi, which is a new subspecies discovered in South Africa a few years ago. Um, there's all sorts of species, of course, that broke off and no longer exist within Homo. There's only Homo sapiens sapiens, which of course is ourselves. There's a list on Wikipedia, which is interesting, but before I come to that, I want to talk a bit about some news there's been recently, which is the discovery of an existing species, but it may be good news for ecology or conservation, you should say. So this is from CNN Travel by Asha Saladin, and the report is entitled "World's Rarest Gorillas Spotted with Babies in Nigeria's Forest." Um, Strange title, that Nigeria's forest. I'm sure there's more than one forest in Nigeria. I think it should be Nigerian forest. Anyway, in a rare sighting, conservationists have captured new images of the world's rarest gorillas, with several babies in southern Nigeria. The Cross River gorillas were spotted in the dense Mibe Mountains in Cross River State by a camera set up by the Wildlife Conservation Society. The subspecies is critically endangered, and at one point, only about 300 individuals were known to be alive within the mountainous area in Nigeria and Cameroon, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. So the photographs show these gorillas, and some of the females do indeed have babies on the back. The gorillas tend to avoid humans, and their few populations have been the target of hunters in the past. Images of the gorillas were also captured in 2012 in Cameroon's Kagwene Gorilla Sanctuary. The latest sighting is proof that Cross River gorillas are well protected and reproducing after decades of being targeted by hunters. Anomun Imong, director of Cross River Landscape for Wildlife Conservation Society in Nigeria, said in a statement. The society said that it's been working with several communities to ensure that the gorilla's protection, and since 2012, no deaths of the subspecies have been recorded or reported in Nigeria. That's certainly good news. Gabriel Okcha, head chief of Kanyang, one of the villages near the Mibe Mountains, said the images are proof that his community's conservation efforts with the WCS are yielding results. I'm very happy to see these wonderful pictures of the Cross River gorillas with many babies in our forests, Ocha said in a statement. So this report doesn't give any new estimate of what the population may be at the moment, but like it said, not so long ago they were thought to be as little as 300. Now there's a few things to talk about here. Firstly, it's very important that people understand with primatology the differences between different species, um, because sometimes people talk in transferable terms like monkeys or apes. It's very important to understand this. So basically, the great apes, I'm not pretending I'm an expert on this, but I've done a little research because it's interesting stuff. So the great apes, basically Homo sapiens, humans, gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans. Those are the four great ape species. And within chimps, I don't know if the bonobos are classed as great apes. I imagine they would be. sometimes considered dwarf chimpanzees, although they're a separate species, they're not a subspecies. They're physically smaller and less aggressive than common chimpanzees. That's an interesting thing, actually. People think of the mighty gorilla as being fearsome. Actually, chimpanzees are more aggressive. Um, you're more likely to be attacked by a chimpanzee than a gorilla. I think with gorillas, it's more about intimidating, but they're less likely to physically attack a human. In fact, I can't even think of when the last fatal attack by a gorilla was. There was, of course, the whole Harambe thing at was it Chicago Zoo? Can't recall off the top of my head. But I think just because gorillas are physically the strongest, they're the most intimidating in that sense, but they are gentle giants. Within all these species, of course, there is some subspecies. For example, with orangutans, there's at least three subspecies, the largest of which are the Bornean, I mean, the most populous of which are the Bornean orangutans. With gorillas, there's the eastern gorillas and the eastern lowland gorillas, which can be found in Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and they may be as little as 5,000 individuals. Far more populous is the western gorillas and the western lowland gorillas. I should say eastern gorillas are also subdivided into mountain gorillas. This species I've just been mentioning, the cross river gorilla, is closer geographically to the western lowland gorilla, and they can be found in Nigeria and northern Cameroon, um, the southern Cameroon actually. Um, but I'm just going to go through a list of primates. So I mentioned the great apes, gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, and humans. Sometimes called the lesser apes are gibbons, um, but they are classed more closely to monkeys. So if we're looking at evolution, the last common ancestor, that is the last species that was somewhere between a Homo sapiens and the species Pan, chimpanzee, we could date back about 5 million years, although this is by no means an exact science. And then you start getting species like Australopithecus, which there is some speculation that that could be kind of a cross between Homo sapiens and Pan species, as I understand it. Like again, I emphasize I'm no expert, and if I say anything wrong and an expert in the field, please correct me. You know, um, I don't want to give false information. But that's why we share so much DNA with chimpanzees. I think it's something like 98.7% or higher. With gorillas, it's also very high, but a little bit lower, like 97%, because the divergence between gorillas and Homo sapiens went further back. Thought the light was going out there. So then we get the lesser apes, like, for example, the gibbons, which are quite numerous species of old world monkeys. So there's the old world monkeys like gibbons, and these are the subspecies that are found in Africa and Asia. Then you get the species found in the New World or primarily South America. For example, capuchins are the New World monkeys. Then going further back in the divergence, you get creatures like lemurs, which are classed as primates, but they're not monkeys. Savacas, again, are sort of between lemurs and monkeys. But anyway, this is an interesting list on Wikipedia. By no means is going to be absolutely precise, but it gives you a rough idea. Then we go way, way back. You start getting creatures like tarsiers and lorises, which are to be found in Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines, which almost look like mice. They almost look like big mice, big eyes. They're carnivorous, strange little creatures. So anyway, this is the list just in terms of numbers. It's interesting stuff. Homo sapiens, we number the figure here is 7.7 billion, but we're closer to 7.8 billion now. We're rapidly expanding, and we're everywhere. So we don't need any introduction. Um, with them, this is followed actually the most populous primate after humans by far is the crab-eating macaques, also known as long-tailed macaques, which which is about 2.5 million. These are particularly common in Southeast Asia. In fact, with the lockdown, there was footage recently emerged of these macaques taking over entire Thai cities. So they're very populous. They're often seen as pests. Um, and that's by far the second highest population of primates after Homo sapiens. Then we get into Muller's Bornean gibbon. They number between 250,000 and 375,000. The geladas, which are found in the Ethiopian highlands. Um, Again, these are like large monkeys, baboons, mandrills. They're sort of similar but different species. They're noted for their large canines, and I think in the case of geladas, they look a bit like lions when they're running. Long hair, long tails. They're estimated to be about 200,000. Their class is least concern. Now, the common chimpanzee, between 172,000 and 299,000. So we could say around 230,000 chimpanzees. The Western gorilla, between 150,000 and 250,000, but the note there says that's considered an overestimation. Bornean orangutan, which is the most common species of orangutan, between 47,000 and 73,000, which would just be like a medium-sized town in the UK. The Mentawai langur, 36,000. Bonobo, sometimes called the dwarf chimpanzee, between 29,500 and 50,000. And that says that may be an underestimate. The Nilgiri langur, 20,000. That's a kind of gibbon-like creature. Red-eared gunon, 20,000. A lot of these I've never heard of. And then it sort of goes down. Some are higher estimates, some are lower estimates. Some of the more common ones are not that well known, like the Colossus gibbon, the Siberet macaque. The Barbarian macaque is 15,000. Capuchins, I don't see a figure for capuchins. They're, of course, often the monkeys that are used in films. Like, if you remember Friends, Ross's monkey Marcel was a capuchin monkey. Um, Tamarins are fairly common among monkeys, various species of tamarins. Another species of orangutan, the Sumatran orangutan, 7,300. The cotton top tamarin, 6,000. So you see these numbers are getting lower. Um, some of them are considered endangered, some of them critically endangered. But quite clearly, if you take all the primates, all the great apes, all the old world monkeys, all the new world monkeys, we're talking probably around 3 million individuals worldwide, which is roughly like the population of a sizable human city. It's about the population of Rome. So that gives you an idea. That's all the primates in the world outside of humans. So it's quite striking. Um, I've so much respect for these conservationists, people who dedicate their lives to this stuff, and sometimes risk their lives. There has been actual physical confrontations between poachers and human conservationists. It's so critical that they're protected, because the numbers are dwindling. The gorilla numbers, for example, may be an overestimate. It would be so tragic if great apes were to die off, like gorillas, for example. It would be tragic beyond words. Um, but it's just an interesting subject. Anyway, I'll put a link to that list. I also came across there's a good channel I recommend called Eons, and they had a video called "Your Place in the Primate Family Tree." They had another video actually. I was trying to find it. It was just going through a list of the various subspecies, Homo species, and so on. But I can't seem to find it right now. If I can, I will put a link to it. Anyway, they're a good channel. They do some very interesting videos on a whole range of ecological issues. Not ecological, excuse me. Interestingly enough, they have a creature called a Pergatorius. It kind of looks like a rat. However, it has some characteristics of a primate. It looks nothing like a monkey or anything we would recognize as a primate. But I think going way back, this may be a kind of forerunner to primates. So that's interesting. I'll put a link to that video. I recommend the channel. It's a very interesting science related channel called Eons. And anyway, that's good news from Nigeria about this cross river gorillas. Of course, the key is making sure that no hunters get there. I think the problem in a lot of parts of West Africa is bushmeat is sold because people are poor. And it's not an excuse for it, but it's a responsibility of those governments to provide jobs so that people aren't relying on these sort of trades. And there's other issues as well, but that's one of them. Hey, thanks for watching. And I'll put links to those articles and videos.